There? Did it work? Are we
No,
live?
no, we are not live. I assure you. Oh, yes, we are. Hello?
Hello.
I don't know if it went. I see a
I don't
black
know.
screen, and now it's asking me for the child thing. Guys, I think we did it. Yay! Next time we're using OBS. I swear to God. Hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
After
Um,
we start, let's pretend this is the best intro ever. Hi, everybody.
we did this morning. It's nothing but technical, problems all around.
He is. Here's if you have a technical issue, we have a tissue for you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to bring up chat because I don't have chat because
That's
I
ironic because that's the whole reason you wanted to use.
I know, and
That's
it won't
not
bring up chat.
I know exactly why too, because they don't support flow mode. How's everybody
Oh,
doing this morning?
I hope
Greg, how
everyone's doing well. Well, if we didn't have so many technical difficulties, I'd be doing even better.
Stig says, but this slow chat is annoying. I completely agree. It was a mistake.
Yeah, it was a mistake.
We're not going to point.
Mistakes mistakes were made.
I'm not going to point a finger, but here's a pen I can point with.
Mistakes were made. Oh well.
Yeah. Anyway, we're here. Everything is mostly good. Now some stuff's not working, but hey, let's see. All right. So before we get too far into it, let's see if I still can queue everything up here. I got this. I think I can do this. No, I will restart my computer later. Thank you. So here we go. If you are a Patreon of ours, we would like to say thank you. So thank you to Helge for being a tree supporter, and thanks everybody else on the list. We sure appreciate you, and we want to let you know that it makes a huge difference to what we can do. So
Absolutely.
supporting, and um, we do have some interesting projects coming up that we're actually working with some of our Patreons on. So if you're hanging out in the Discord, you know exactly what I mean. If you're not, what the heck? Join Patreon, hang out in the Discord.
Yeah. And we've been planning out some of the projects are a little more elaborate or a little bit different than what we've done before. So we're still conceptualizing a few things, and then we've got to do some builds and designs, and then we can get get this out to you as soon as possible because I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I mean, lots of you guys. Oh, good morning, everybody. Too. We got Helge, Ben, and Stig. Looks like so far. Um, got my coffee today, and I've added Bailey's. Hey, there's a good addition.
Hey,
I also have my coffee. It's in this giant cup that's as big as my head. See. Mhm. There's a reason why my camera gets muted sometimes halfway through the stream, right, Greg?
you got to refill your coffee.
Yeah, refill. So, um, we do have some bigger stuff happening with some videos, so that's gonna take some of our normal time. If you guys don't know the usual process, I mean, I'm just gonna throw it out there. Usually, when we make a video, um, we think about it. Obviously, my process is a little different than Greg's process. I know because I'll. Our job affords us the opportunity of a lot of free time Friday afternoonish. So that's when I'll jump on and kind of like do all the video editing and get stuff rolling that way. And these projects are not one that are like a Friday, Thursday, Saturday, afternoon. They are going to consume some of our time. And we've talked about, you guys are well aware that we have a ton of extruders coming. So that's one of the things that is happening. We also received some parts that our good friend and patron Stig sent, and I'm starting the test platform for those as well. So that video
Hey,
should be.
Vince.
Hey David, in your video, the E3, you mentioned that you can connect the USB to the board. You could use the SD card as a drive on your computer, but didn't tell us how. Okay, so you can, and that's SD support, Ben. So I kind of hate it, but I kind of like it. So if you enable the SD support in the config advanced, um, you can actually get the SD card um, mounted on the computer. So just I'll look up the
Yeah,
line.
you have to run a command, right,
Yeah,
to flip it back and forth.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
1 second then. Basically, that board is greedy. That so like when you have an SKR 1.3, and Greg and I went through all the SKR boards on this one. So if you guys, let's just start from the beginning. If you're not aware, Ben's question is SKR board. Hey Vince, thank you so much. The SKR boards and 32-bit boards can connect via USB cable to your computer, and then you in theory see it as like a USB drive. So if you're on a Mac, you see that little drive window pop up on the PC. It's in your file explorer. But there is a G code command that you have to kind of unmount and mount. Love what you hate to love. Yeah, sorry, it's kind of slow chat today, but hey, we can make it work, right? So let me find the G code command for you, Ben. That's the long and short of it. The E3 board, specifically the E3 board turbo, and I think the 1.4 was the same too, Greg, right? I think we tried
I never
it.
use it, so I the only time I use it is when I'm uploading firmware. Is I plug it into my computer, drop firmware on it, and reboot, and that's fine. But what he's asking for is you put a file on it, and then you want the board to actually read the file off of it.
Yeah,
So it's not just the reboot flashing piece. It's like you copy
the whole thing.
the G code file onto it, and then you basically toggle your mode from your host to your board, so your board can then read the contents of your board.
Sure. So when to do such a thing, you have to do a few things, and SD support has to be enabled in Marlin. And by default, guys, it is. So, like if you download new Marlin, and 92% of the example configs have it enabled, but just type the word SD support in just to make sure. And you can see here that it even says requires SD support. Now, if you guys haven't been to this particular site, this is marlinfirmware.org/doc/Gcode. It's one of the best sites on the planet.
Bookmark it. Bookmark
Yep.
it. I have it in one of my quick favorites because I refer to it a lot because if I want to tweak something, and I mean, who can remember every G code and M code?
I wish
Not
I
me.
could, but not me. Definitely not me. So on the turbo boards and on the E3 turbo board, when you're going through and you want to access it from the computer, you plug it into the computer and then you don't get anything. It doesn't work. Well, the first thing you have to do is this command, and that's M22. That releases the SD card from the controller. So you need to have power to the controller, even via USB is fine, but M22 will release it from the controller. And once you do that, it should show up inside of Windows, OS X, Linux, whatever you're using. Obviously, Linux, you have to go mount the drive after, but that's here nor there, right? Once you're finished using that particular device on the Windows machine, you eject it. Mac, you drag it down, you eject it from the trash bin, you unmount it from Linux, and then once you're all unmounted, you'll run M21, and that command reinitializes the SD card. So basically, it's just telling the controller like, "Oh, the SD card is mine again." It's crazy, and I'm not sure if it's a quirk of the 1769. So like the LPC 1769 and all of them do it, or if it's just a quirk of that board.
Because it's not as it doesn't seem to happen on the other one, so
Yeah,
the 1.3.
yeah.
So, but
1.3.
Ben did clarify he wants to put the firmware on there, so it's the M22 that he'd need to do so that
Yep.
he can then see it from his computer. So,
Yep. And M22 dumps it on. Like, hey, the chat's showing up in Restream now.
whoa, hey, weird.
That's slow chat. Just because it is, I'm gonna post the first official comment on the screen. Boom. um, so I hope that answers your question, Ben. M22, M21 to init, M22 to release, and then you can dump your firmware on. I came across a post on the Big Tree Tech Facebook forum. That's actually one of the forums that don't make fun of people too. So it's a nice forum. And it looks like there were a few people having problems with the 1768 chips. So we like, so of the boards I own, most of them are 1.3, which is the 1768.
And I haven't had the issue, but now,
No issue.
now typically, as long as they have the SD card support turned on, then it works fine. But I never go and print from my SD. My SD cards pretty much stay in the printer the whole time. I don't swap them because I just use them for firmware. So I just will upload the firmware to them, turn it off and on, and away we go. So I rarely swap them out. I don't use them as let's say a traditional Ender factory board where you put your software on it and print it from the SD card. I just don't do that.
So the 1.4 boards, if I'm not mistaken, aren't those 1769s too?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So I think those are 1769 chips in them.
Yep.
I'll double check right now. But
it is 1769. I can confirm that.
now I'm much the same. I mentioned it in the video too there, that I'm much the same as Greg there. I don't like ejecting those SD cards. In fact, out of 4 SKR boards, I've had 3 SD cards go bad in them. So like it's yeah, it reminds me of that line. It's a trap. Throw away those SD cards. And yeah, let's address the title. We're not an RV channel, but Greg, my friend, bought something big and amazing.
So I got a 1993 30-foot fifth wheel. It has some rot, so I'm going to have to repair it. I've ordered an entire new roof, so I got some work ahead of me. But one of the first things I thought of was, what can I print? And I've already got, I think, 26 different things in my Thingiverse RV collection.
Yeah. I'm gonna throw it out there because like I've printed stuff for mine for the last 4 years. And the rule where it's like PLA is gonna melt, it doesn't apply in a trailer. I don't think it gets hot enough in there. Like
No, it should be all right. But yeah, I most of the prints are like just like little functional. Like it has one of those retention clips that holds a luggage door up, and it's broken. So I'll just print that. And if it wears out, I'll print another one. Like it's small, right? It's not a big deal. So, but there's a number of little things, and so I'm just wondering how many people, they get something new or something, they move into a new place, and the first thing they think of is, I could print something to fix that.
It's true, right? Like we have a machine that can actually do such a thing. It's weird. Good morning, Marcel. Thank you for coming. Pierre asked something. Hold on. I think it was Pierre. Okay. So Pierre, yeah, it was. So Pierre asks, it's a bit confusing. We say SD card on board and SD card from LCD display. it is a little confusing, but just think of it this way: the SD card on board literally means the one that's on the controller, and then lots of the RepRap discount screens of the
Have
original
the
variety have
SD reader.
yeah, and so do the Big Tree Tech, right, Greg? So
Yes, yeah, and so you don't flat. You can flash your screen from the SD card that's on the screen, but you can't flash your board from the SD card on the screen. You have to use the board's SD card
yep,
for that. So there's a little fine definition there.
yep.
You gotta be aware of.
Yeah, the bootloader only reads the onboard card for like firmware operations.
Yeah.
And then actually the M22, M21 commands for the LCD display get run in a different order when the processor boots up. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's kind of cool. Do you guys know how to configure a BTT MOT expansion board on the SKRs? I haven't
I
done it.
have not experienced that at all yet. I've seen them,
Problems?
but yeah, I think once you define it in Marlin, it basically uses your two EXP1 and 2, I do believe, to connect to the board. So once you define it, those are no longer usable for your screen directly. I can't remember if it daisy chains through and then you can still put a screen on. Do you remember, David? I don't know if I looked at that or not.
I
But
know the expansion can be used for a screen.
basically, it uses the 2.8 EXPs. Once you define it in your Marlin to go through. But I haven't actually tried it. But that's just what I've read about. So you define it. So I'm sure we could figure it out, but we don't have one to play with. I will be getting the expansion board for the new Marlin, the SKR. What is that one? The RRF. And I was just looking through the Marlin upcoming code, and it's not defined in there yet. But if you go on the Big Tree Tech site, they've made their own, and so defined it, and so it's kind of interesting the way it works. So it has a lot of different features, and then you get two more 2209s in UART mode on this other board, and you still have your two EXP1 and 2 free. So it's kind of a unique way of doing it. They use a little ribbon cable on the back of the board to connect out. Like they have a separate connector to connect it, so you're not actually using any of your standard EXP1 and 2 or the TFT or anything like that to connect this board. It's a separate ribbon cable. So
yeah,
kind of. But they're also using the STM. What is V4? Or it's what the Duet uses, that same chip.
Yeah.
So anyway, it has a lot more interface ports on the chip, so you've got way more expandability, right? Because you look at the Duet and you can put the expansion boards and have way more steppers on. So that chip is just a lot more versatile. So a lot of the new boards are using that same chip. It looks like the prices have dropped.
And like you're only using one of the ports too, right? Pins are pins. You can use the screen on any port. You just have to configure the pins properly. So
yeah.
I mean, like Greg mentioned too, on any control board, all those pinouts are active. Some processing chips can have more pins, right? But you can actually end up using all of them, but you do have to go into the pins file and mod it. So I know there's a few other questions above, but like Marcel mentioned that his screen goes weird on the E3 turbo board, and I've seen that when the resistor fix gets done. Mine came with the proper 00 resistors in there, the fix from the factory. But if you had an old one and did the fix, that can be a side effect of it. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, if that's a random resistor fix word for you, the E3 Turbo board, when they first released, they basically put resistors with resistance in line with the thermistors, and it made it very, very chatty to the point of you couldn't print because it was always thermal running away. And so the fix was to pop the resistors off and just bridge that. So basically, it was a 0-0 resistor that they put on the board. They started fixing that by putting 0-0 resistors on the board. Yeah, if you guys like what you're seeing, like Ray says, here let's make it big. Let's make Ray's comment big. Like, share, subscribe. We appreciate it. And if you don't know, let's see if I still got my captions, Greg. I should, because we're in the same concept. We do. We have a podcast, and it's really fun. Right now, there's
we're working on our kind of our first official full episode, rather than the commercial and then the intro. So
yeah, so you get a commercial and an intro right now, but we are working on it, and it's one of those things. It's fun. So
just so in case everyone didn't know what he was talking about. So this is I believe this is the expansion board you were talking about. So you can see it connects to EXP1 and EXP2, and then you get 3 extra steppers to run off of this. So you probably wouldn't be running a screen off of this unless you're using the TFT at that point. So, and for does it show the config in here? I'm not sure if it shows the how to configure it in there. I don't know if it does. So, but either way, that's the board that he was referring to. So you can add, and I can't remember which boards it's compatible with. I'm not sure if you can use it on all SKR boards or any board that supports. It looks like 1.3, 1.4, and turbo. There you go.
There, the answer has become apparent. Now those expansions too, it's interesting. When you look at those expansions versus like the Voron kits that use the clipper to get more stepper drivers out of it, like I don't know which one would actually be better. Probably clipper in that case could run faster.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't have any slowdown. Like I don't know if there's any performance difference running the signaling through the EXP1 and 2, like because it's kind of like a workaround to get more drivers. So having multiple boards that you're just sending simple signals to, I would think the performance might be higher. But that's one of those things that David and I in the near future, that's one of the things we're going to be testing. We are in Lethbridge in Alberta.
Yeah, the smallest, most deadliest town in Alberta right now.
No, there's like 2 more deadly.
There's some more deadly actually. We were number 1 for like last week though. That was really impressive.
Yeah. Our COVID numbers are really high with the variants right now.
Yeah, so we're having issues. But while we're on the topic of Marlin, and we've been talking Marlin a little back and forth, I do want to mention one thing that we often forget, and this is especially pertinent for the 32-bit boards, any 32-bit boards, and that is once you flash the firmware, send M502 and then M500. The reason you do that is to clear out the EEPROM, and if you have boards that, for example, like the E3 Turbo, right, or an SK 1.4 Turbo with the external EEPROM, and you don't do that, those EEPROMs will hold the old values. So you could after the gal comes home and be like, oh, I can't do, why is this not working? And that is why.
And guess who ran into that the other day?
I think did this week.
Oh man, I've been battling with at work, trying to resurrect and I'm going to do a video on this once I get it working. The CR10 Max. I pulled the old board out, got an adapter, daughter board, put an SKR in it, got the independent steppers. It levels beautiful now, but for some reason I've got an issue where I think the PTFE tube has pulled back a bit, and so it's jamming. So I've got to pull it apart and clean it up. But yeah, it's that printer has not been my favorite printer. Let's put it that way.
Well, like I still got the one in the corner. It's just down over there.
The legend is still being bad.
Yeah, like I fixed it, and I'm sure it works now, but it's still in the corner because I'm angry at it. And one thing, this is a good. I was having this conversation this week with Ray as well. If you guys do have the big Tree Tech printers, the Legend, the BigQ, whatever it changed to, the purple one.
Oh, the BQ1 or something like that.
Yeah. And then like even the Magician, check your strain relief on your heater bed cables, because there is none. They haven't put it on, and
that's one of the first things I printed.
Ray was saying his caught fire, right? The one they had caught fire, and I don't doubt it. B1.
Yes, there.
Thank you. Yes, I'm like it's one something. It's just one of those things. If you have one of those printers, make sure you print that part at least. Then it's gonna catch fire for other reasons. I still think it was funny how it managed to throw a build plate off. I don't even know. The first layer
so Ben has a question.
Mm-hmm.
They're setting in Marlin to auto knit the EEPROM.
I wish. I wish, but that being said, you could write something to do it for you, but I don't think there is an auto init inside of Marlin. So when you reflash that, because that would be more of the bootloader side of things, not the right. So Marlin doesn't, to my knowledge, have an auto init. Like they do have an auto init for SD cards. There's an auto init for the Trinamic drivers. That's why if you guys have ever run into the issue where you plug your printer in and then it said TMC connection error, that's because it has an auto init and it can't actually power it up.
Yeah.
So, right?
And it's trying to connect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, like fix for that one is power your printer on first. And then
it just doesn't work when you're trying to, get those working and you're powering it off of USB. I don't know why.
Right? Like, why would you need to give power?
And I've never done that before.
I remember this goes back a ways, but when we were first doing it, way back, I was
2130s.
I think it was before that. I think it was we had water rots that we had to solder.
Well, I've never owned a water rot. You had the water rot.
But like, there is an auto init function. There is a function to auto init. You want to post that, Ben? Because I don't see it. Actually, he can't post the link. Just post the last part of the link after the HTTPS, then you can post the link. But those water rots were, they were fun drivers. What is the longest time print you guys have ever done? Mine is 4 days. Mine was 9 days.
Mine was almost 3 days.
Yep. On an Undermax. Yeah, mine was on a CR10, so the same thing. Bigger.
Mine was on a CR10.
The longest,
even though I have bigger than a CR10, I haven't done that long of a print. I do. I'm thinking I want to print a R2D2, but then I think, what am I going to do with that after I print it? So it's like I want to, but where am I going to store it? I guess it could go be a prop in the background or something.
Yeah, like mine, like if you want to get really technical, um, I had like maybe 30-minute breaks because I had to come down and switch the model on the printer, but my longest was 2.5 weeks for that Darth Vader helmet.
Yeah. Well, my Mando helmet was 72 hours is what mine took. And Pierre says his Mando helmet took 5 days. That's that's a long time.
I know there I'll post, yeah, thanks Ben. I know
Oh,
there is auto start and auto init, but it doesn't work the way you think it works. It's for failure. So if it can't boot up, it will try to flash 502 for you, but it doesn't do it automatically like every time. But yeah, if you post it to the Facebook group, we can grab it and see what it is.
yes. Yeah, and he
Oh,
confirms your.
tells you. Thank you. Yeah, I think it is only like if there's a fatal error. So like if you guys run Octoprint, that's the ones that will say like EEPROM error 9999999 in red in the top corner, and you can actually
Yeah.
suppress all those errors too, in Octoprint, which is amazing if you're running
Right.
a BL Touch, right? Because your print keeps going if your BL Touch is stupid.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm choosing to the Facebook group right now, Ben. Thank you. Let's see here. I don't know if you guys saw, but I gotta mention it. Our friend, we had our a great conversation last week with Amon and his wife Stephanie.
Yes. Yeah.
And
They it was very informative.
if you guys haven't seen that, it's last week's live stream. So it is up on the channel now, for perpetuity, or at least as long as the channel's up, right? But I'm just gonna say it. Their PETG is like optically the clearest PETG I think I've ever seen.
Yeah,
It was,
it's not kind of cloudy like some of the other clear or whatever. It's like it looks like you can use it for fiber optic. It's that
yeah.
clear.
So Ben, there is an interesting conversation because about the firmware. Sorry, I'm going to circle back my full thought. And Ben is correct. If your firmware version does present a mismatch, so if you guys don't know, there's an M504. An M504 tells you the health of your current firmware, whether it matches the EEPROM matches the firmware version that's actually stored in
Right.
memory or not. And that will return a init mismatch error when you first boot up your controller, and that's when it will try to recover from said error. However, however, if you do have a separate EEPROM, all bets are off because it doesn't always work.
Yeah. So best case M500.
And yeah, M502, M500. So potentially you could polish the PETG. Yeah, so you could. And I've seen a lot of. I haven't done it personally, but like that the spray on shellac coating. If you spray the outside of your print with that, you get rid of those layer ridges, and it's the same principle as like sanding, smoothing, but when you spray that on, it fills the gaps, which means that the light doesn't reflect and refract around the bend anymore. Um, and I've had good PETG here too, right, Greg? Like the Airy one,
Yep.
PETG was really, really clear. That was cool
Which
stuff.
which is surprising. I'm glad they've gotten better at their filaments. Their first few that we've tried were horrible.
Yeah,
Their accuracy was way off, and the tolerances were really bad. But
yeah, it was
yeah,
rough.
they've gotten better, but they're still a little pricey.
Yeah, and like if what I hear about them, so here's the thing, right? Like I don't know. Let's see in the chat if you've used Airy One filament. Give us a smiley face in the chat. Like you have to don't like go down to the emoticon. So use the keyboard smiley face, the colon and the bracket. But Airy One filament, like we both had troubles when we first got it, but now I have
Yeah.
4 rolls of it, and
Okay.
apparently they use high quality virgin materials. I don't know that for sure. So I
Yeah.
can't say that, but I can say I've printed a lot with it, and I love their matte filament. If you guys get a chance to try the Airy One matte filament, it looks amazing for like busts and sculpture pieces and that stuff. Um, maybe when the filament go
Hashtag
off.
not sponsored because
Definitely
we're
not
not.
sponsored. We're
Yeah.
actually the farthest thing from sponsored. We're blacklisted.
Yeah, they're mad at us because we gave them a bad review
Yeah,
when it first came out. We were honest. It jammed. It plugged. It was up to, I think, what was it, almost 1.9.
yep, yeah, and
Yeah,
like
like it was like jamming in the Capricorn tube, because Capricorn is like what the 1.9 is the diameter, so it would then get so much resistance that you get super under extrusion. So
yep,
it's good to know that they have fixed that up. I
yeah,
like Overture.
yeah, we like Overture too. But the map, I like. Okay, so I appreciate everybody's comments too. Ben says I don't buy Chinese filament, and I bet you in a roundabout way you kind of do, because lots of those raw pallets and stuff that people are buying now are shipping from those areas.
Yeah,
But like if it's India, Indi Indigo, it's the pellet manufacturer. That stuff is still high quality, not
yeah,
manufactured out there.
yeah,
Well, I'd rather be blacklisted than lying about a product, and I totally agree. Let's have a little bit of backstory here.
yeah,
When everyone approached us way back when to try their filament, and lots of and it wasn't just us, like it was a lot of people, but everyone actually, they say, hey, do you want to try our filament? And you go, yeah, I'll try your filament. Send me a spool for review. And what happens is they say, yeah, for sure, we'll send you a spool out for review, but you have to pay for it first, and then do a review, and then we'll send you money to a
we'll
PayPal.
credit your or we'll refund you or something
Yeah, right. Like,
after you give us a good review. And I'm like, that, no, that's not the way it works. you
no,
you you want us to review something, and we're not paying out of our own pocket. You
yeah,
send us the product and we'll look at it, and then
and
we'll be honest about it.
that's it. Send it, or don't. We there was I won't mention the other company because I yelled at the guy and promised that I would never mention the company or the printer. But there was a printer that recently released, and they're like, well, yeah, if we'll give you a really good deal, you buy it, you review it. And no, like, I mean, I'm okay with buying something for review, but like when you're holding me hostage, like the filament, right?
Yeah,
When it's you do this and then I'll give you this, and that's exactly it, right? They're buying their reviews. And if you guys go onto Amazon and look at Area One Filament as an example, and they're not the only ones, guys, but all of those reviews are probably bought, or at least
yeah.
90%.
And so we any of the stuff that we buy, we'll buy ourselves. Then and or our Patreons, money will be used, or our Patreons will send us, say, hey, get this in, for example, for us, and then we will gladly review it. Now, if we think it's crap, we're going to say it's crap. If we think
Mhm.
it's good, we're going to say it's good,
Yep.
because we want you to not get stuck. Like, we're not made of money. We're just like you guys. We work hard for our money. This
I
is
think
this
that
is
much.
this is a hobby for us, and so we want you to get the most value out of something you buy. So if it's crappy, we don't want you to buy it. We want to let you know what our opinions are and why we found it to be this way. We still think you should make up your own mind and try it and whatnot. But if we think it's not good, we're going to say it's not good.
Yeah, and Ben, you're right. That's against it. It is totally against Amazon's rules for vendors, but that's how they're getting around it. And they're, like I said, they're not the only one. I've been contacted by lots of companies. It's just that one sticks out in my head as one where it's, yeah, you buy it and we'll refund you. And I mean, we ran into the there was that situation where actually they weren't going to refund it, and we had to go to Amazon and meh.
Yeah.
So,
So I've also been struggling with this product here, whether to actually do a video on it or not. Someone was kind enough to let us try it out, and he wants to remain nameless, so we will let him be nameless. But I'm struggling because the product is very limited on its usefulness, in my opinion. And so I'm struggling because, if anyone has upgraded their printer to a board other than a Creality board, this doesn't work. So,
yeah, kind of as we feared, right?
Right. So, and it's very hackable. I looked online and they had a Hack Day article where they could it would automatically read anything you put on an SD card and rewrite the password for the ROM.
Yep.
So it's I was talking in Patreon in our Discord chat and got some title ideas and whatnot, but I just don't know if I should do the video or not, because I can't justify anyone buying it. But maybe it'd be more of a PSA to warn people that if you leave everything stock, it will work. But as soon as you start modding boards and stuff, you've wasted a little money on it, right? Because it's not going to work for you.
And it does require the printer be running a baud rate of what is 115200.
Yeah, so I even pulled out my Ender board here and plugged it in, and boom, recognized it right away. But as soon as you try to plug something else in, nope. So let me know in chat if you want me to actually do a bit of a little overview of it and explain some of the shortcomings, and explain, what it could do for you and what it couldn't do for you, and let me know.
Stig says, open it up and see what's inside. It's just a few screws, I'm sure.
There's not much inside, and there's some really good pictures on Reddit on what's inside it. So
to answer your question, Ben, to what's in the box, it's something for our extruder showdown. That's as specific as we can be.
Which this box or this box?
Surprise. Shh. I got one too. Where is it? It's over there. But I can't show that one because that's a dead giveaway.
Now, if you were our Patreon and you were on Patreon, you would have saw a sneak peek at what's in those boxes.
It's true. To answer Ben's question, does it work with the 422 or 427? I've seen it work with both. We don't have either of them anymore because the printers that we did have with them went back in a box back to somewhere. But it does. Yeah,
and if you flash the updated firmware onto these box, do the update, it'll even work with the print mill and everything. So it's and I'm not sure how they're doing that. If it's just, I wonder if you could trick it, because it's just identifying Marlin, right? So it's how it identifies it. So maybe if you matched up the description and serial number and stuff that they use for those printers and put it in your Marlin firmware, you might be able to get it to work.
And it could be. I mean, maybe. I mean, there might be an experiment to do there, but I mean, as a viable print controller, could we recommend it? No, just buy a Raspberry Pi. That's what we would recommend.
And I think if you've watched our streams for a while, we do not recommend a Raspberry Pi Zero for your Octoprint instance. But in this case, the Raspberry Pi Zero has more functionality.
Mhm. Yeah. In this case,
It probably works better.
Yeah, it definitely will. The it's an interesting idea they've come up with, but it's just not like 100% there yet. And I hope maybe that they do.
It should have been universal. It should have been not just their printers. They tried to lock into their ecosystem with their board only and their upgrade board only, and that's not what our community is about. Our community is about open and changing and modding and whatnot. So it kind of goes against the spirit a little bit.
Sort of. I mean, look at different, like for example, the Dremel. Like there's nothing wrong with the brand wanting to have a branded ecosystem, but the problem with that is when you do have direct swap out components. So like if like you were saying, if we put an E3 turbo board in there, it's still an Ender 3 printer, but we had to, let's say we blew a stepper driver, but now the box won't connect. That becomes a problem. I don't disagree with brands being branded to their own stuff, but it should, like you said, it should definitely work.
And I don't know and Ben's asking, what if you flash it with a different firmware? If I flash this with Marlin 2, would it work
Is he talking
on that
about
board?
the board or the
I don't know. Well, probably he's asking different firmware. But if I took this stock Ender 3 Pro board, right, and I flashed it with Marlin 2 and customized it and did everything that I like to do on Marlin, would it still work?
maybe? Yeah,
I don't know. That might be something I could try and then explain that in the video too. So I'm still debating. So that might still
be a
come
thing.
to be a
I
thing.
know when that certain box came to Lethbridge from our certain friend, it tried to make it its way over to my place, and I nope. No. I wouldn't do it. You couldn't make me. And but it might be a good video still. It might be information we need. If they want to sell the box, they should make it work with most common printers. Yeah.
In their mind, the most common printers, which goes right into is an Ender 3.
Right. and so this is a topic, and it's a really good topic, and like we have it in the show notes as all hail the Ender 3. What do we recommend for printers? I think that's a rather drastic all hail the Ender 3. I wrote it first thing in the morning. What can you say? But
He didn't have coffee yet.
oh, well, when we're looking at printers that we actually like evangelize, we use them in our workshops. It is an Ender 3, right? Do we recommend that for everybody?
No, but it's a good entry point to 3D printing for someone who has never experienced it, because you get up and running really quickly. And so I think that's why we use it. And the cost is very solid. And it's also something that's very accessible to us to order in a reasonable time frame.
Yeah. And it's one of those things too, like 90% of your print will be the size or smaller than the build volume of an Ender 3, right? Like a Mando helmet, okay. Maybe your Mando helmet needs a bigger print if you're putting it on your head. But like for all the brackets and cable trays or that stuff, you're not exceeding the build volume of an Ender 3. In fact, like V0 is probably going to fit 90% of your prints, right, Greg? Like
yes, and that's kind of why I wanted something rapid, and it's a small build volume. Like it's like what, 120 by 120 or maybe even smaller.
I thought it was a 100 cube, yeah.
Yeah, it's not big, and 90% of the prototyping I'm doing. Maybe I'm just testing out a portion of a print, slicing up a print just to see if mechanically it'll fit with this other part. So I'm not going to do the full print and waste a whole bunch of material. A lot of times that's the way I do it. I'll slice up a section of my print, get rid of the rest of it because I know there's nothing fancy with it, and I look at the mechanical piece and test it out. And so, that's a pretty small build volume at that point.
Yeah, I got some back channel chat here happening that's not public because it's anonymous, but the comment's amazing. Yeah, that box sucks, but the USB cable is actually pretty good quality in it.
You know what? I know the person who you're back channeling to, and I will give them that. They've got braided. I probably can't pick it up on camera.
Yeah,
but they're a high quality braided USB cable, like really nice quality. So I will confirm that person in chat in our back channel. The cables are amazing, and the packaging is actually very good too. Like they didn't skimp out like on and the box looks nice.
Yeah,
So
well,
I mean, if you went by looks, buy it.
Well, and this is a really interesting thing, and there's some good comments coming up in the chat about the Ender 3, too. Like the Ender 3 Pro is a great build system, is a great printer. If anybody is on a group and like, oh man, my printer sucks, I'm going to sell it. Yeah, just buy it from them. There's nothing wrong with it. The Ender 3 just needs to be set up right. And like, what do we got? Ben says he bought one for his wife, $160. I wish I was in the States, Ben. And I wish I had American money.
I wish I had I got paid in like euros or US dollars or something.
Yeah. And like, the Ender 3 is one of those open build platforms too. As you guys know, we're starting an endeavor for IDEX that's going to fit the platform of an Ender 3, granted on a different printer. But when you look at printers out there, the CR series, so a CR10S, then followed by the Ender series, is really something that like Creality owns. Like, I don't mean like they own the patent or the design. I mean, they've owned it. They take that form factor. It's like a Prusa, right? Prusa owns, like, he did not create by any means that form factor of printer, but he took it, he ran with it, he owns it now, right? Like, so Creality,
yeah,
hundreds of different. Well, so what we got? Mingda. There's the oh man, why can I only think of Mingda now? There's Lavis. there's tons big tree
Anycubic.
Anycubic, right? Well, Anycubic's closer to the Prusa, but like
FL Sun.
There you go, FL Sun. There's lots of people that came after and saw that and went, yeah, and I mean, yeah, there's the
Dare I
conspiracy.
say ANET?
Oh yeah, the new ANET was exactly like that. But the platform itself is solid, and that's why it's copied a lot. And so when we recommend printers, yeah, like we're more likely to recommend, like if you come to us and say, hey, I just want a beginner printer, an Ender 3. Hey, I need to print a Mando helmet, CR10. Right?
Yep.
It might be a CR10 as V3, V2. We do not, however.
Don't get a Pro.
No, we don't like them. And that's why we didn't have a video this week, because we really didn't.
And the Max, like I have so much B-roll from filming for the Max. But yeah, the stock stuff on the Max was horrible.
Yeah, and the Max, like for us guys, just like our overall experience, and we've unboxed it. We did a video on that a long time ago.
We were printing a lot on mini printers, and that one,
yeah, not so much. Like it would print one big thing, and then like the the best thing about it is like this week Greg's like, oh man, hey, I got this perfect, I forget what it was, scientist came off of it and it's perfect. I'm like, yeah, okay, print one other thing now, because it always seems to print one thing really good and then the next thing was just trash, and that's exactly, I don't think we've got a print.
I'm going to bring up the absolute best print that it ever did.
Okay,
Just give me a second to
Ben
find
says
it.
CRX was a bomb. Again, that was like an experiment they did. If you guys don't know, CRX was their color mixing. One nozzle, two colors kind of thing. I was thinking about testing an ANET A4, but they haven't released the firmware source code, so I dropped it. Yeah, Stig, the ANET, ANET is still ANET. They might not catch fire, but they definitely don't. They definitely don't follow the open source governance. Okay, so this is great. Greg, go for it.
So, this is the best print I got off of the CR10 Max. This was supposed to be originally three brackets to hold some USB extenders and HDMI extenders to go up in the wall, and that's what we got. We got three Core XYs, and we got the CR10 Max. And the Max, this was one of its best prints. It literally, like, I think this here at the end here was where the heat sock was stuck.
Yeah.
So it just had this weird wick off the end, and so it made a little monster. So I had to add eyes to it. So that's
from brackets to art in no time. And I mean, lots of printers can do that, but this one consistently did that.
I think it did that 3 times, and this was the best failure that we had.
I mean, we could send you the original STL, but I have no idea what the printer did to make turd ball there. I mean, and then there was a comment. Stig says the CR10 Pro is a short-lived experiment, and I gotta say, unfortunately, it wasn't. You can still buy it. They just made a new one. In fact, there's another terrifying one coming out that I would love to see it before I judge it, but it's called the CR10 Smart 3D printer. Smart. So it kind of looks like the CR6, but they've made it into the CR10. But there is a new CRX printer. There is and there is still a new Pro. That's the V2. So we can go Pro V2.
And you can't upgrade the D-Win screen on that one. Is not supported properly in Marlin. It never was. Whereas at least the new V2 Ender, the D-Win screen is supported in Marlin.
Yeah,
so,
and they definitely
so it's like
that. That's not the CR6 too, right?
They're not consistent. They're consistently inconsistent.
Yeah, we're fixing it right now, Ben. So basically, it's brand new inside. So it's
yes.
it's
it's got a 1.4 turbo inside it, a new screen, and a new breakout board. I'm still using the ribbon cable that goes. So there is a video coming on that once I get the bugs worked out. So, but it's amazing. One of the sneak peeks of the video is you turn off the power, the gantry drops 1.2 millimeters, and that's and I've even put on things to stop that from happening. That's going to be in the video too, but it's just unreal. And so the reason I went with the 1.4 is so that I could do the auto gantry leveling, because once you do that, all of a sudden it starts to print fine. So, but now I've got the plugging issue.
Yeah, because we started off on that one with like, and it works, but you still had to level it manually before you got going.
Even started.
Flash nuts, they worked okay. But I mean, if you guys haven't seen the new Creality printers coming out, you should check out a few of them. Not that we're sponsored by Creality, but like the new CR series actually looks pretty cool. the CR the CR10 Smart, although I think there's a bit of a typo on the right.
Exactly. G34. So that's the one thing I set up is the independent stepper drivers for the Z, because G34 just makes so much of a difference to have that auto gantry level done before you start the G29, because then the compensation is very minimal over the whole, and it's such a big bed. It's like 473 by 400, and it's like it's ridiculous how big it is.
So like,
and so
you definitely need G34, definitely.
yeah, and that's one of my complaints is that they only put 4 stepper drivers on the board. Well, that doesn't make sense when you have such a big thing. And that's a simple thing that they could implement across the board on all their printers, and it would make their printers that much better. Like, I don't know why manufacturers, like, I was very impressed that the Anycubic had independent steppers right from the factory right away on my Anycubic, and made a big, like, they just had to flash it with version 2 of Marlin, and then you could do it right away with stock. So that was excellent.
Could be worse. Could be a CR10 S5. Actually, you know what? Speaking of CR10 S5, I had great luck with the one that I used. I didn't have issue with it. But
if you ran a G34 and you had independent stepper drivers for CR10 S5, it would level that gantry and work great, because it basically is an S5, but it was supposed to be a little more advanced.
No, it's smaller than the S5, because the S5.
Well, just barely. Yeah, but just barely, because it's like we're talking like 479 by 4. Like, it's only like a few millimeters smaller. Like, it's not that much smaller.
When I used the S5, I manually leveled it. I didn't have any issues with it, but like part of the issue with the S5, like the gantry system seemed fine. So I didn't suffer from the tilting on the S5, but I did suffer from Ben just said it. Once you heat the bed, you get warp city. So you have to kind of manually level like the first, skirt around it. But
the bed is definitely better. Now, I don't know, was the S5 a 12-volt system?
The S5 was a 12-volt system.
Yeah, and so I think that's one of the benefits of having the 24-volt system, is a lot of the fire issues and whatnot have gone away, because it was hard to put enough amps through a 12-volt heater that large and not generate heat through the cables, right? So
I think with the S5 too, it got a little more tricky because the entire surface was not heated. So it was one giant heat sink. And you're like, oh no. But it worked. It was fine. But yeah, like all the CR series, like the S4 and the 5, they were all the same basic control box and 12-volt printers. Big printers need cast aluminum bed. They warp, then they roll once. Yeah, and like Greg and I, we got some big printers, and we don't have any issues with warping. But yeah, totally. Yeah, that's a good statement. Yeah. But Greg, I'm looking at a clock here, and it's like 10 minutes almost after.
Yeah, we did start a couple minutes late, so it kind of evens out in the end.
Been here for an hour. Not that we want to go, but it's time to eat and stuff too.
Yeah. Well, but we do have to thank a few people, and don't forget to like and thumbs up on the for the YouTube algorithm gods.
Yes, all hail YouTube gods. I mean, so I just gotta get it back up here because like I'm silly. So before we go, this one. Thank you to all our Patreons. Again, Helge, thanks for being a true supporter, and everybody else. We appreciate you immensely. If you haven't checked us out on Patreon, there is some behind the scenes access and stuff. You do get to see what's in the box and that kind of thing.
Yep. Yep.
So feel free to check it out. We do post some public stuff on there as well. So check
Yep.
us out at patreon.com/3D Make It. And yeah, you guys, it's been awesome hanging out with you. So thank you.
And everyone have a good day.
Happy Saturday. Wait, Sunday. Bye.
Sunday. Bye.